Good evening, everybody. And here we go. Day 4 of the great streaming experiment. I already suspect there's trouble. I'm seeing an indication that maybe this is dropping frames. So there's trouble. If I'll see if anyone tunes in. And do you see any indication that it's not streaming smoothly? So that's an awkward way to begin, but somebody's out there. But who is it? Drop a comment, say hi, talk to me. I'm testing some more new stuff. And I'm getting inconsistent feedback from what I have here. All right. So, how's everybody doing? As we slide towards the apocalypse. Playing with some new tech tonight because why don't we go down? Now there's a few people watching. I don't know who you are, but drop a comment and I would appreciate your feedback. I can figure all this stuff out later when I watch the replay, but I'm really curious to know. I'm getting an indication that the stream might not be going smoothly, that it might be dropping some frames. But then I'm also looking at it as it plays on Facebook and it actually looks okay. So if you're getting this, say hi. Uh-oh. Here's an update. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, the wife of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, tested positive for the coronavirus. This just in. All right. So there's a few of you out there, and I was hoping to just have a little interaction with you, talk to you. If you come in, I'll see you chatting right over here. And in the meantime, I guess I'll ramble. I was supposed to be in, all this week I was supposed to be in Northern California, in the Oakland, Berkeley area. Hello, Anna. Thanks for tuning in. Now that I know somebody's out there, I better be entertaining, huh? Well, this is, I've been experimenting with some technology, and each night I've done things a little differently, and tonight is night 4 of this grand experiment. And I changed my black background. Hey, Mike Krieger. Okay, check it out, Mike. This time it's the green screen. And I'm curious about the ratio of my voice to the background music. And instead of just background music this time, there's a little bit of, every once in a while, a little sound effect. So I'm gonna have to experiment to find the right levels I want, and the lighting, experimenting with the lighting. It's very hard to judge the lighting because I have 2 monitors, the laptop and this external monitor. Looks completely different on the 2 of them. And then there's my phone. But of course on my phone, I'm always altering the brightness. So it's very hard to judge. Hello, Lisa. What about the lights? Are you saying, that's a little vague. Lights. Yes, lights are good. I have lights. I'm trying to do something moody, so I turned this one off, and I have this one because I want a contrast. But what are you saying about the lights? That there should be more light? Depending on when I look at this on my phone with this brightness, it's actually brighter than I want it to be. I want something moody. I want to experiment with different lighting conditions. Sometimes very brightly lit. Last night I was streaming with a black background. I also have a white background to play with, and I have this background. Yes, that's what you meant. Which part? I said like 4 options. You're saying it looks dark to you? Is that what you meant when you said that's what you meant? Hey, Jim. How's it going, Jim? Revelstoke Jim, from my very earliest days of experimenting with streaming video. So, Jim, you tuned in a little bit the other night. I'm playing with a lot of different stuff, and I'm experimenting tonight with the green screen because I have a project in mind that all of these pieces are for. This background, the music, and I wanted to get some moody lighting, and it's very hard for me to judge the lighting because it looks different on my laptop than it does on the external monitor, and different. Hey, Jody Liss, hey, author, and hey, JD, thanks for tuning in. So, as you can see, we're experimenting a little differently tonight. And I have some of the same clips queued up as I had last night. I didn't change anything. I didn't really prepare any new content, and I had a weird day, but I was supposed to be in California all this week. And I had a gig at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, and because of the coronavirus, I'm still home in Raleigh. But today I did a webinar from here to them, and I gave my science communication talk via webinar. And it was kind of fun and kind of interesting, and there were about a maximum of 50 people watching and interacting with me. I took questions. It was pretty cool. I look cosmic. You know what? So I feel you guys are in on my beta testing, and I'm trying to work out some bugs. And you know what I'd like to know right now is my software is telling me that I'm not overtaxing the CPU, but it's also telling me that I'm dropping frames. And I don't know why I would be dropping frames if I'm not overtaxing the CPU. This is all very confusing. And I changed the bit rate that I'm streaming at tonight compared to last night. Author says, well, let's pull you up here. Author says, hey, Brian, how's it going? What happens to electrons when they have nothing to do? They get bored. Womp, womp, womp. LOL. You should be sorry. One more joke like that, and you'll be banned from this stream because there's not room for both of us. I will tell the bad jokes. So I'm aiming towards doing more live streaming, but then also taking some content from the live streams and purposely, like, stuff that I would normally just shoot by myself. There's no reason why I can't stream it live and do multiple takes even, or talk about a subject, and then take the best of it and edit it into something short and good without the dead air. And so I have a project in mind that is gonna look like this. And this background is supposed to resemble the inside of an atom, but also represent the inside of my mind. So I'll be welcoming you into my mind, but it's also the inside of an atom. Hey, Mark Kaplan. Mark Kaplan and Jody Liss. What's happening here? What year is this? Where am I? I'm confused. What's happening? You know, it's good to know that you still have friends from, I don't even want to guess how many years ago. How old were we? Since we were like 13, approximately. Jesus. So yeah, galaxies. Yeah. So what I want, you want to? I'll spill the beans. I'll tell you what the project is called. I mean, I intend to do a lot of stuff. I have the facility now to create a lot of content. I'll be putting out, I love to interview scientists and interesting people, guitarist Steve Vai. So I'll put out a lot of interview stuff, but I also want to put out some, strange monologues, my flavor of geeky rambling. And one project I want to call Spontaneous Emissions. And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of a mouthful, but it's a great physics or chemistry term. And spontaneous emission is when an atom absorbs a photon or more, then electrons are raised up. When it absorbs it, it raises electrons up to a higher energy level. And you say the atom's in an excited state. And then later, spontaneously, the electron will drop down and emit a photon. And that's a spontaneous emission. Well, similarly, when I think about a subject or I get exposed to ideas, I take in all this data, I get in an excited state. And then I spew out photons of nonsense or humor or poetry or science explanation or whatever. And so I just really like that. And that's what this is supposed to represent. So it's like you're inside my mind, but we're inside an atom. Those are little electrons whizzing by. Sometimes you'll hear the sound from it. Yeah, Mark, hook me up with a sponsor. I think that would be awesome. And I can do other stuff that's less weird and more commercial, maybe. I don't even know. But that's one thing that's coming. Interviews, clips from interviews. And I like the idea that I could do a live show and play clips and have different segments. I should turn it this way so you can see my geeky mug. So, on whatever device you're looking at, does this seem too dark? I had more light on me, and I just thought I looked too bright compared to the background. It's sort of like I said, inside my mind, inside an atom. I wanted it to be a little moody. So I have a lot of light on this side, but I wanted to bring a little, I didn't want it to be evenly lit, kind of like this. So it would almost be cool. Oh, I'm gonna need that. You're gonna have to excuse me a second. Can I do this without disrupting stuff? I dropped my controller. Can't have that. Yeah, there is a shadow. That's a thing about light. It's challenging. If I lower the light so it's a different angle, I could lift that shadow off of there, but it may cause more reflection in my glasses. There's a lot of challenges here. Oh, I totally forgot to do something. I wonder if it's showing up, huh? I think I just saw it. Are you catching, I forgot, are you seeing right here, like through it to the background? Because, there's a green screen behind me. And when I look right at the camera, some of that green can reflect right here, and then it gets replaced with the same image that's in the background. Look at this. What's wrong with my hand? Ah, my hand! My hand! I wish it didn't do that, but it does. I'll show you the coolest thing to me. Let's see if it'll do it. if I step out for a second. Hold on. Hang on 1 second. Oh, I didn't let it do it enough. If the camera goes enough out of focus, like if I stuck my hand right up next to the camera, I just can't get to it right now, then when I come back in, I start out as this weird blob that's out of focus and has a green, it's a very trippy effect. Hey, Bill, okay, I took things to the next stage. Oh, hey, see, Craig, did you hear what I was saying? It's a challenge to figure out this lighting. I wanted it, I didn't want flat, even lighting, and so I actually cut that light off entirely. Because even when it was on its lowest, I wasn't getting much contrast here. So I cranked that one up and I turned that one off because I wanted it to be a little moody. I'm trying, I'm experimenting. And this is my 4th night in a row doing some live streaming experiments. Hey, Adrian Smith, what do you think about this look? And your new video is fantastic, of course. I heard that. Get a dimmer for it. You know, they have dimmer switches, but they only go down to 10%. They go from 10 to 100. So even at its dimmest, I can move it farther away, but actually I can't for the right angle, because I got to worry about my glasses. And you know what I found? This was the weirdest thing. When I did my first green screen experiments, it was with my friend Katie Mack, the astrophysicist, and we were both here, so I was not facing the camera. I was usually turned towards her a little. Everything was great. The first time I started talking directly to the camera, I noticed that the sides of my glasses were so shiny that they were picking up green and getting keyed out. And I don't see it right now, but do you? Is it picking up the blue background? And I tried to spray some like matte finish spray on it, didn't help at all. And you know what my solution was? I got some black construction paper from a neighbor that has children, and I cut out 2 pieces of black construction paper and I glued them onto my glasses, and that worked. Like, you couldn't really tell, and it got rid of the reflection. But I'm due for new glasses as well, but I'm afraid that any glasses I get, unless they have wooden frames, I think it's gonna be this problem where it's black, but it's shiny. So I thought that was kind of, it's like the problems never end. And the other thing is, my software is telling me, this mixing software, OBS, I'm currently taxing my CPU at only 30%, but it is telling me that I'm dropping frames. Have you noticed that I'm dropping frames? It's not obvious to me. It's a little bit trippy. It looks great. Let's do a special insect clip live cast together. I would love to. Hey, Allison. How are things are you in like, where are you? Utah or something? Where did you move to? Nate Etheridge. Nate, if you're there, say something and I'll play you something. I've been playing the other night I played a clip from my interview with Steve Vai, and I have something to show you. Say hi, Nate, and I'll show you something, because it's totally for you. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I wasn't necessarily gonna play any clips. You haven't, okay, JD, let's do this. JD says, I haven't noticed any drop frames, but if you drop 1 frame an hour, it would give you that message. Well, it's saying dropped frames 69, and then it says 0.2%. And I don't know what that means. I don't know this software very well. I don't know what that means. All I know is I wasn't seeing it the past couple nights when I was not using the green screen. So the thing is, I'm doing this from a Mac laptop. And so, you know, it probably doesn't have a powerful graphics card or CPU, I don't know. And so there's a limit to what I can do with it. The music is playing on the, that music is playing on the laptop. The background video clip is playing. This software is running and processing the green screen. Utah was right? All right. I hope you're doing well out there. Well, Nate, you didn't say anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this anyway because I'm still not over this. Some of you have seen this before, but it's not even 30 seconds. When I was at this Starmus Festival last summer, at the dress rehearsal for the opening ceremony that I was co-hosting, Steve Vai sat in with Chris Hadfield. That's a weird thing to even say. Chris Hadfield is an astronaut, and when he was on the ISS, he made a video of his version of David Bowie's Space Oddity. And at the dress rehearsal, Rick Wakeman from Yes was playing piano. Hans Zimmer's orchestra is playing. Oh, I don't know if they're playing during this song. We'll see in a minute. And Steve Vai was playing guitar, but they decided to take him off it. He had a big solo of his own song, so they took him off it and it wasn't in the show. So this only occurred at the dress rehearsal. And it's really short, but I only caught this little snippet totally accidentally. And I think this is better than the studio version, what Steve does right here. So here's Steve Vai for just a few seconds.
Detach from the station and make us love be with you.
See what I mean? That makes me happy. In these crazy times, little things are giving us joy. In fact, let me ask you, give me a little feedback because I didn't prepare much material. I was caught up in preparing this tech, but what are you doing for self-care? Or what are you doing to put a smile on your face when all of the news, health news, financial news, is so apocalyptic? What are you doing to break away from it? Do you do yoga? Do you meditate? Do you go for a walk? Do you have a dog or a bird? I have none of those things. I got nothing. I've got music. I've got some cool neighbors to talk to. I have neighbors with dogs. And if I time it right or I just hear them out there, there's like 3 neighbors that will go walking their dogs together, and they have really good dogs. Very cool dogs next door and over there. Bill Pack, you say, watching this. How sad for you. Or is that that's a lot of pressure on me. I can't handle the pressure, Bill. Flying Dog, the truth. JD, I don't know what that meant. I appreciate you contributing, but I don't know what you meant by that. So the idea, like, I'm not gonna use this background for just rambling like this. I gotta find some other backgrounds, like whether that plain black background or I could do a plain white, or just something interesting. I could use the green screen and just put some kind of background, and I'll play with that. Jody List says he watches Brian Mallow, Science Comedian. And, well, thank you. I'm sorry that it's come to that. And JD, oh, that's a Flying Dog, the truth? That whole thing is the name of a beer? Or you drink the Flying Dog and then the truth is revealed to you. So, how long have we even been streaming? Not 5 minutes, that's not right. 25 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, I have to start, this. I don't know how to monetize all this, but all I know is that the age of stand-up comedy is over. Remember after 9/11, for a minute there, they proclaimed that, some people did, that like comedy was over, done, no more comedy. You know what's frustrating? So, I see that my audio levels are fine on here. I don't know how it sounds to you, but I can see on the camera, the audio level is actually peaking. It's too high. So I don't know if that's problematic. In the future, I'm probably gonna record on the camera as well as let it go into the software. And so I'll need that recording level to be fine. But right now it's just passing through. But I wonder if that's a problem. Craig, do you even know the answer to that? My mic is going into the camera and it's peaking into the red. But it's just passing through to the software. And I was only monitoring audio levels on the software where it's at a reasonable level. But I wonder if that could be problematic. I should paint the mug green. Yeah, do I have anything? Hey, okay, when I get up. That was an accident. But my camera bag is green, but it's a different shade. It's a very different shade. It's such a different shade that it's not getting keyed out. So that's interesting. This is green, but it's a very different green. And that's the only green thing I see here right now. There's a bookshelf over there, and there's probably some green stuff on it. But, yeah. Are you seeing, I'll check it later, but is that getting keyed out right here? Are you seeing the spacey stuff? JD Max says, are you familiar with comedian Leanne Lord? She did her first experimental Facebook stream tonight in response to a canceled gig. That's what I did 3 nights ago. This is, I don't know her, but she's chummy with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know if she knows who I am, but I know who she is. But there's some interest in me going to Dragon Con, if there even is a Dragon Con. Or dragons even, or cons. There are no more cons, just dragons. And I understand that I think she is going. So, that's pretty funny. So, a few nights ago, I did the same thing. I had a gig cancel, and my gig was supposed to be, it was the night before I was flying. I think it canceled. Did it cancel Monday? And I was flying Tuesday. And we'd confirmed it, and then they canceled. That must have been Monday. And then I streamed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'd been meaning to do this. I was getting ready to do this, and I took that canceled gig, I guess like she did, as a impetus to kick my butt and stream. And I've done it every night since. And I did a couple experiments in the day, because I'm playing with some technology that lets me go simultaneously to both my Facebook pages and YouTube and Twitter. And I could also do it from my phone, but I just did a test today and I wasn't entirely happy with it. And I'm having some issues with this. Okay. Bill says you're watching on the phone and the glasses look fine. Get a proper green shirt. You could be a disembodied head. As I've always wanted to. I could be like a Futurama disembodied head in the future. So I had a gig cancel Monday for this week, but we renegotiated a deal and today was the gig. I did a webinar for them instead. And it was a science communication talk that I do. And I did it by webinar. I used the green screen in Zoom. And so I didn't have this background. I just had the Hubble Extreme Deep Field image behind me. It's a cool space image. Just to be different. And that was fun. But anyway, like the very next day or 2 days later, this week is a blur, I had a second gig for this month cancel. And if you think maybe me having 2 gigs cancel within a week and a half of each other is bad for my pocketbook, you're right. Turns out I'm not independently wealthy, even dependently wealthy. I think the key there is I'm not wealthy. And most of my money has come from speaking to groups of humans. Jason Cryan, how are you? I know that you have a cool new park near your new house, so congratulations. And we should talk. Can you bring me in for something? Because all my other gigs are canceling. I've had 2 gigs cancel this week, both for this month at the last minute, and I don't expect to be booking any new gigs. But I could come to your museum and interview all your scientists. Because, you know, you'll have to have, ooh, yeah, whoa, my hands! Because you won't be able to, is your museum gonna close too for a while? You'll need a good virtual presence, and I can help you with that. So that's what I'm having to do. I'm gonna have to propose to some clients that I help them with some science communication virtually. But it's not ideal. I mean, on the one hand, I want to do more video stuff, and so now I'm forced into it. But so far, you know, that's not a source of income for me yet. I can do it, but I gotta get paid for it. You just closed, yeah. So that's what I'm saying, Jason. You're gonna have to speak to your community virtually, and I can help you with that. Let me help you with that. But yeah, eventually, surely this won't last forever. Will it? Who knows? I read some frightening stuff today, and it's just along the lines of, you know, nothing's definite because I think it's too early. We haven't done enough testing here in the United States. But I've got actually something optimistic. Some friends of mine are very encouraged by these extreme measures that to some people seem like panicking and overreacting. Some scientists are pretty happy with the amount of events being, you know, not happy about it, but encouraged because it might slow the spread of the virus. But I think the expectation is it's going to sweep through the population. I don't know that we can prevent that, but it can be slowed down so that hopefully maybe our hospitals won't be overtaxed by too many sick people. So slowing it down is important. Stopping it may not be possible. But, so I heard some things today that were encouraging and some other things that were a little scary because it's possibly more transmissible than the flu and possibly more deadly than the flu to people that are vulnerable. So, and it could be a lot of people. So, could be kind of depressing. And it's gonna have, one friend of mine now, he's an astrophysicist. I don't know what his word counts for on this, but he's afraid that we're headed towards a total depression. Nice, huh? I don't know enough to have an opinion on any of this. I'm agnostic. I don't know, and I know I don't know. I always used to be optimistic about most things, but that was a long time ago. Is optimism a thing of youth? Is optimism a factor of youth? How many people maintain their youthful optimism? I guess it depends how your life goes. Craig, if you're out there, I got some interesting personal news today. We need to chat. Not today, yesterday. And I can't tell everybody about it because not just yet. But yeah, anyone got a question or a comment? So that I don't have to play that same Steve Vai clip again or a different one. The guy I really wanted to play for, Nate, you didn't chime in. It looked like you were watching, but maybe that was very brief. But I played a couple clips from an interview. Last night I played a couple clips of my interview with Alan Stern, who heads up the New Horizons space mission. And I played a clip of my interview with Jill Tarter the night before. So I'm just trying to work out some bugs, and maybe I've rambled enough. Unless you want to stop me from leaving by saying something. Almost anything will keep me here. I have nowhere else to be. I got no gigs. I got no life. Only my neighbors have dogs. That could be the title of something. While you think about it, oh, Ellen's out there. Or she was. We'll see. Over on, let's just see, this should be happening on YouTube as well. There it is. Oh yeah, so it looks like I have one viewer over there and it's my sister. Keeping it in the family. So, Ellen, this was, I'm talking right to you now. The other nights I had just a black background, but tonight I decided to test and play with the green screen. So this is what it'll be like when I do like spontaneous emissions and stuff that's more written. I mean, some of it I'll riff on, but I have a bunch of ideas for content. Unlike this, which is just me rambling and testing out the technology. See how everything works. Oh, Lori Bucksbaum! Say something, Lori. I see that you tuned in. I was getting ready to wrap up because I've been rambling for 38 minutes and 11 seconds. Ellen is watching over on YouTube and Lori on Facebook, and earlier Jody Liss and Mark Kaplan. This is like blasts from the past. It's kind of like all the concerts that are coming. Isn't it crazy? I mean, like REO Speedwagon and Styx and Foghat. I was driving through New Mexico. The last gig I had, which for all I know will be the last gig I ever have, that I go to in person. I had to drive from Santa Fe, where I flew into Santa Fe and then drove to Los Alamos. And there's a casino or two along that road. And the Little River Band was coming and Foghat was coming. Not a good enough reason to use the word emission. What would be a good enough reason? I was in an excited state and I had a spontaneous emission. That's an old joke of mine. Foghat I actually saw once. Let me see. They were the headliners, but it was a 3-act bill. The middle act, so it was Foghat headlining. The middle act, they had already peaked. It was Bachman Turner Overdrive, taking care of business, and you ain't seen nothing yet. They had already peaked and they were middling for Foghat. And the opening band was a new band I'd never heard of, and they were kind of loud, but I kind of liked them, and I went out and bought one of their records. It was Judas Priest. And when I got the record, it was a little heavy for me. I didn't really get into it, but the live experience, convinced me to buy one of their albums on vinyl. So, and I was just, a friend of mine on Facebook said something about Cheap Trick, and they're still out there. And Cheap Trick, the first concert I ever saw was in Houston, Texas, at the Summit, which is now a church, a big mega church run by a very unchristian type Christian guy. The first concert I ever saw was Kansas. It was the Point of No Return tour. Dust in the Wind was on that album. And I already liked them from Carry On, My Wayward Son. And so first concert I ever saw, Kansas, but the opening act was Cheap Trick. And they were new too. It wasn't their first album, but maybe their first hit, Surrender, was out. So yeah. Elizabeth Erickson, how you doing? Matthew, thanks for tuning in. I'm just sort of rambling and losing my voice and testing some technology. The truth is, hold on. I don't think you can catch anything from watching this. Even if it's a viral video, I think you're safe. But I think there's about a 50-50 shot that I already had the coronavirus. When I went to New Mexico, wow, all of a sudden, I'm gonna take one of these. All of a sudden, I got a weird tickle in the back of my throat. Yeah, I know. If I cough right at the camera, I could get you sick. I might have to play you a clip for a second while This is the first time this happened today, but I was trying to tell you, don't come this way! Go back! My hands! My hands! Anyway, a couple weeks ago, I went to Los Alamos, New Mexico. Elevation greater than 7,000 feet. And I was a little short of breath there, obviously. And I did several presentations while I was there. Talked a lot. I was out of breath. So when I came back, first of all, I realized there might have been a first symptom, which was the two nights that I was there, I got a very strange feeling in my mouth and a strange pain on the side of my tongue, and it looked inflamed. And comparing to what it looks like today, you ever had this experience? I looked at my tongue, and it looked weird to me, but I realized that I never look at my tongue that way, the side of my tongue, so it's like, maybe it looks that way all the time. But you know what, I looked tonight, and it is different. So I think there was something weird that happened to me in Los Alamos. But the real thing was, when I came home, I was out of breath. And I had just returned from 3 days at over 7,000 feet. So it seemed really strange to me when I came back to here, sea level, it seemed strange that I would be out of breath. And I was a little short of breath for a couple days. And then I got very sick for like 2 days. And I was pretty miserable, sweating, bad nights. But it was really bad for 2 nights, 2 to 3. And my doctor just told me to go get some over-the-counter cough suppressants. And after that, and that was, you know what? I was in Los Alamos February 25th, 6th. I came home the 27th, and I think the nights that were bad were like that weekend. Oh, I can tell. The nights that were bad were the 2nd and the 3rd. Monday and Tuesday, 10 days ago and 9 days ago. And then it subsided, but I had a persistent cough for a bunch of those days until like yesterday and today, where it's almost gone, but not quite. This is just a zinc lozenge that I also picked up. In addition to picking up the virus, I picked up some zinc lozenges. I had to pay for those. Paying for the virus in a different way. So I don't think it was a cold, and I never get sick. I had a flu shot, but that doesn't mean it wasn't the flu. But for a couple days, I was pretty sick with something. And I had headaches that were unusual. I had a dry, unproductive cough, and I was short of breath. And there's big overlap with the symptoms of the flu, and I don't know what to make of this, but when we heard about the first case in Raleigh, in Wake County, where I live, they said that this guy had been at the airport on a certain date, and that was 2 days before I was there. So, I don't know. It's consistent with the possibility, but of course I could have gotten it, and I don't even know how long it takes to kick in, so it could have been something I picked up a week before. I don't really know. And so I'm not sure, but you know, I'm not at risk. I'm pretty healthy. I have no pulmonary problems. So I don't know what we would expect. If I did have it, maybe that's what would happen. I was sick for a couple days and then I recovered. Lingering cough, but it's mostly been better. That was a weird tickle. Cough drops really helping. So, altitude sickness, maybe. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, those symptoms kicked in after I got home. There was the one thing that happened in Los Alamos, which was this taste and feeling in my mouth. But the headaches, I didn't have any headaches there. I was just a little short of breath because of the altitude. So you think I got altitude sickness a couple days after I returned? I don't think so. So I don't know. If we ever are able to get the test and it's affordable, I wonder if taking the test would show that I have antibodies because I was exposed to it. But by then, maybe we'll all have been. Hey, Andrea, if you're still out there. Albert. Oh, so many people from the past. I'm glad I've been able to not alienate old friends, or I wouldn't have any viewers. You don't have to replace old friends if you hang on to those old ones. Albert says, don't die. Lori says, do not die, because she doesn't like contractions. Even though she's a delivery room nurse. Seems weird, huh? Seems like you would like contractions. Andrea, Elizabeth laughed at something. I don't know what you laughed at. Alienate? Alienate. Alienate. Yeah, so, ask me something and I'll tell you a story. Or, it's been 48 minutes. It's still saying that I've dropped frames. 69 frames. Hey, Richard. Thanks for tuning in. I might be contagious, so step back from your screen. And be careful if you're wearing headphones, because I'm coughing into my mic. Yeah. Albert, what was the rim shot for? Was it the contractions? Oh, man. I thought I was almost fully recovered today because I really didn't feel that tickle in my throat and the coughing, but all of a sudden it hit me. Thanks, Albert. So you guys talk amongst yourselves. You know, I can leave and I'll leave the stream running so you can have your own conversation. But, see, Ellen, if you're still watching, this commenting is all happening on Facebook, on my Facebook post. That's where the most people are watching. Upwards of 7 people at a time. 8 or 9. Hey, Melissa. What time is it out in California? 8, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 8:20? Yeah. How are you doing out there? Things are crazy. I was supposed to be in Northern California right now. My gig canceled. I was going to be at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, and I did a webinar instead. So, if you know anyone who wants a virtual comedy show or science communication talk, send them my way. I'm your guy. I'll tell you what, when I was sitting here doing my webinar, it did occur to me that the idea of working from home, like I love traveling and I love the interaction with people, when you're not contracting diseases because of it. But I like my career the way it's been. But I gotta say, the idea of just firing up the computer and wearing slippers, I had pants on and everything, but I didn't have to. But doing the webinar remotely and getting paid for it, I kind of like the idea of it. So similarly, if I could start cranking out more video content of some kind and get someone to pay for it, you can tell stories about Brian. Albert, I think I would have to vet some of those stories before you go public with them. But I'll tell you what, some of my old friends, like you, like Arthur Kay and Rebecca, for sure, they know stories from my life that I don't know. That you probably have some memories. If we started talking about all the way back to junior high and high school and chemistry class, and I'll bet you remember some things that I don't remember. I might have to pick your brains. I bet Mark Kaplan, you remember some things. Of course, you remember the time we had that little accident at your house where we were roughhousing, and was it my foot or your foot that made a hole in the wall? Yeah, good times, good times. A lot of universities are moving to online classes, Professor, yeah. Mad Cow, do you have the COVID? Melissa, I was just explaining that about 9 or 10 days ago, I was sick for a couple days, and the symptoms are consistent with this virus. Could have just been a flu. I had a flu shot, but that doesn't mean that doesn't guarantee you don't get the flu. But I rarely get sick. I don't think I've gotten the flu in my memory, which isn't very good, so that's not saying much. But I never get sick almost. Like maybe once a year with like a cold or something, but I just don't get sick very often. So this hit me pretty hard for a couple days. I felt miserable. I don't know, could have been this. If we're ever allowed to test in America, and it's affordable, maybe I'll find out if I was exposed to it. But eventually we're all gonna be exposed to it. But yeah, Mark, I bet you remember some other things. Because I wish I could remember. I don't think I've repressed anything. But maybe I have. So let's see. Have I fulfilled my obligation? Melissa says, I'm not gonna say you look like shit, but damn. You're kidding, right? You better be kidding. Because I don't feel like shit. It's just this coughing thing, and I had to pop a zinc lozenge. I can tweak the lighting if you think I look bad. But this has been a fun experiment. Day 4. Albert brings up Dr. Beam's class, and yeah. So you might remember some different interesting anecdotes. I only remember, here's what I remember. When we were in high school, in 12th grade, we had a pretty advanced physics class. And in fact, our teacher formerly taught at Rice University, and his name was Dr. Beam. And he only died recently in the past couple years. But Dr. Beam, B-E-A-M, like laser beam, and it was a great name for him. He was really tall and lanky, kind of greasy hair, and we always kind of thought he maybe washed it once a week, because through the week it would get greasier, but then maybe he washed it over the weekend and he came in fresh on Monday. But the one thing I really remember, well, 2 things. One is that when he would be at the chalkboard, old technology, and he was explaining something, and he would calculate things, he would just be doing things, and he would just he would write things to several decimal places. And he'd be like, that's about, 37.146. And, I believe he was right. But the one story I really remember is that he did a demonstration of conservation of angular momentum. And that's the thing you see in play when ice skaters or roller skaters spin. And if their arms are out, they're spinning slowly, but if they bring them in, they start spinning faster. And if you extend them again, you spin slower. And you can amplify this effect if you're holding weights. Well, he wasn't on roller skates, but what he did, and the guy was well over 6 feet tall, and he had like this large turntable, not for records, but a large turntable, and he put it on top of his desk, and he climbed on top of it and sat cross-legged. And I mean, his long knees were sticking out to there, and I think he had 2 weights so that you could do this well. And then he gave himself a spin, and just to see, our esteemed professor, our teacher in 12th grade, sitting up on top of his desk and spinning, and then pulling his arms in and spinning faster and putting them out and spinning slower. And I think I also remember someone walking by in the hallway and looking in, and what a strange sight to see this strange man doing that. And that was awesome. But that's maybe my only Dr. Beam story. Albert, you might have a different one. Phenomenal teacher. Remember the Slinky incident? Remind me, Albert, what was the Slinky incident? It sounds familiar. But then again, I know what a Slinky is and I know what an incident is. But what was the Slinky incident? Mark says the many math teachers that most students were smarter than, we had a streak of like 4 years of teachers quitting. Yeah, in 12th grade, I also had a really good calculus class, and I think, I don't know if it's that, see, in 11th grade, I took trigonometry, and Rebecca Mellon was in my class, and we feel like we went to Nam together because we found that class really hard. I don't think our teacher was very good, but it also might, I don't know if it's just that I get calculus more than I got trigonometry, or maybe it was the teacher. It's hard to know which it was. But all I know is that trigonometry was super hard because we didn't feel like it was taught to us very well. So we struggled with it. But then in 12th grade, when I took calculus made sense to me, and I was good at it then. I don't remember it at all. I haven't retained anything. And in fact, I still have, I found at my parents' house, a bunch of old homework and tests from that from 12th grade, that physics class and that calculus class. And pages and pages of calculations that it's my name on the paper and my handwriting, and I used to understand it and I was good at it, and I haven't retained it at all. And I think it would make a great montage, a piece of art called Stuff I Used to Understand But No Longer Do. That lady was awful, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember her name. I'll bet Rebecca remembers her name. But, yeah, that wasn't good. And I don't remember who taught calculus, but either it was a better teacher or I just understood the subject better. It made sense. Calculus, there were these word problems, and you would just have to solve them. And once you understood the tools, it was easy and fun. And I remember Dr. Beam's class tests involved some complex math too. And I thought his tests were fun. That's, I think, the only class that I think back on, and I thought that those tests were fun. They were hard, they were challenging, but they were fun because I liked solving word problems. That's why sometimes Melissa said, ha, what did you ha to? If you just say ha, it's out of context, I don't know what. Albert, I'm going to read your message here. But yeah, I sometimes regret not pursuing a science career of some kind and more of the science education. I was good at math and science, and I took those, what do you call those tests? I went to UT and I was pre-med, but I took these placement tests and I placed out of having to take any more math or physics. So in college, I took a lot of biology and chemistry because I was pre-med, but I never took another math class and I never took another physics class. Well, I took a couple astronomy classes at UT. Albert says, where did it go? Wave demonstration. This was the Slinky incident. We sent waves up and down a Slinky pulled tight. Dr. Beam left. Uh-oh. We were told not to connect the Slinkies, so of course we did. Stretched down the entire hall at Bel Air High School. We sent Joseph to the far end. Joseph was our friend and commonly our victim. I know one incident involving you, Albert. We sent Joseph to the far end to hold one end of 200 feet of Slinky. After sending waves up and down the hall, the bell rang, so we let go of our end. Joseph did not. Hilarity ensued. Mark says, Mrs. Corey, AP Calculus. Sounds right. You looked it up in the yearbook. Melissa, calculus was hard for you. Yeah, I mean, it helps to have a good teacher, I'm sure. Here's something that my friend Albert did to our friend Joseph. Do you know, if you're in chemistry class, Bunsen burners can be a source of a lot of fun. And Albert took, what do you call, like, the tongs, and he was, and grabbed a test tube. But he's holding them, he's not touching the glass. He's holding a test tube in these tongs. And he heated the test tube up with a Bunsen burner. And then he went over to Joseph, and you know what? When glass is really, really hot, it's not that obvious that it is. And so he offered it to Joseph, and Joseph took it with his bare hand, and hilarity ensued. Also, third-degree burns. No, I don't know. Melissa says, I think being a science comedian is a lot better than being a scientist. That keeps the passion alive without having to do the hard stuff. Plus, you're in front of the public. I used to be in front of the public. Now that doesn't happen anymore. And have a unique opportunity to influence other young people to get excited about science. Okay, I agree with you, but what if I had gotten, say, a PhD in physics or astronomy, but then went on to become the science comedian? I'd be way more the science in the comedian. So sometimes I'm a little sad that I didn't. And I wonder, I wonder if I would have been a creative enough thinker in science to make any kind of contributions and to, write some interesting papers or something, discover something. At best I come up with a clever line about contractions, a pun, and that's the evidence of my brilliance. I wonder if I could have made a contribution in some small way to science. Would have been interesting. I don't know if this will happen, but when I was at Los Alamos, I met a bunch of interesting people. But one thing I did there was an onstage interview with a scientist. Her name is Nina Lanza, and she's super cool. And she operates a laser on the Curiosity rover that's on Mars right now. She operates the laser. They zap things, and the camera, ChemCam, it's called, looks at it, and it gets a spectrum reading, and they can tell the laser can vaporize a little bit of rock, and by photographing it, they can tell what the rock was made of. And this summer, a new Mars mission is happening, and it's carrying a new device. I think it's called, this was ChemCam, and I think it's called SuperCam or something. And I think it's just an improvement and can do some other things. And one thing, I'm not going to tell you much about this yet, but I asked her some questions that she didn't know the answer to, but we could maybe test in a facility at Los Alamos. So I suggested we do this thing because it's kind of funny and it's kind of weird, and it would make a great video. So if we can get buy-in from the higher ups, you'll know what I'm talking about if I get to make a video with these people from Los Alamos. I'm really hoping we do. Albert says your humor works for us little people now. My humor is for the little people. I'm not very tall. You think I'm perfect the way I am. No regrets. But then again, you don't know me very well. If you only knew. You know, you just see what I present to the public when I turn on the camera and suck on a zinc lozenge. Who knows what's going on inside here? Welcome to the inside of my mind, or the inside of an atom. That's what this background is. Yeah, if this happens, it will be so awesome. I had a great time there, and we talked about future collaboration stuff. And it's Los Alamos National Lab. Albert, did I tell you anything about this? It was so cool. What they call the lab is 36 square miles. I wasn't allowed to take photos. I didn't even see anything sensitive, but you're just not allowed to. Because they still do a lot of classified work there, and across more sciences than you'd even know. They developed the bomb there, and they still have a lot of responsibility for maintaining the integrity of our nuclear arsenal. But they do other stuff. They study viruses and biology. They study all kinds of explosive stuff, because conventional explosives are used to trigger nuclear explosions. And so they study all sorts of explosive stuff, but they really study across the boards in biology, chemistry, and physics, quite a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on 36 square miles. And I really like the people that hired me, and I think they liked me, and there's a chance that we'll do some future stuff together. It was very cool. And there were times we were talking about technical subjects. I was there 2.5 days, and probably 10 times I asked a question, and someone said, I can't comment on that because of security issues. That was just kind of interesting. So that was quite an experience. Yeah. Hey, Andrew. Thanks for tuning in. I'm probably wrapping up. I've now been rambling for 1 hour and 8 minutes. That's more than enough. I think I fulfilled my contractual obligation. But thanks for tuning in, Andrew. Yeah, Albert, so that's where, and I came back, and you know what, I'll tell you, here's one joke. When I got to Los Alamos, at the beginning of my talk, I did a couple workshops while I was there. I met with science communicators on their staff, and I met with scientists on their staff. And I gave a talk. It was the director's colloquium. It was kind of cool. And I also did this on-stage interview. So there were like 4 separate events on 2 different days. And at the beginning of my talk, I said something about, you know, I apologize for the fact that I was out of breath, because it's like 7,200 feet, I think. And I said that I was coming from, I go, so, you know, please excuse me, I'm gonna be a little out of breath because I'm coming here from sea level. And if you trace back my lineage, it goes even farther below sea level, you know, basically to some hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, if you want to trace my lineage all the way back. So I think there's a little something there. Maybe not hilarious, but kind of funny. So, oh wait, and then there was something else, wait. I did that at the show, but then the next day I came up with another tag for it. I don't know what it was. I hope I wrote it down. I might have written it down. Well, anyway, this has been fun for me, even though my cough came back and I'm losing my voice. But I'm pleased that I've done some of this experimenting 4 nights in a row, and I'm going to do more. Andrew, I would be doing some stuff on Instagram. This is streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. 2 Facebook pages of mine. But I can't go at the same time to, I mean, I could go to Instagram if I used my phone and separately did it, but I wouldn't have the green screen. I mean, I've already thought that if I really wanted to get this same effect, well, I could always shoot it and post the video later to Instagram. But if I want to be live, the only thing I could do is set up a monitor in the other room and then use the Instagram app and go live to Instagram off the monitor. That's a crappy way to do it. So the only way to go to Instagram is through the mobile app, which is unfortunate because I don't have a ton of followers on Instagram, but I get good engagement there. The followers I do have, I actually interact with. So it would be nice to do some stuff there, but I'll have to do it separately. Okay, Elizabeth, have a good night. Need a bar joke. Well, you know, it's not a new one, but the bar joke, oh my God. I'll tell you something that I was reminded that I have an on-topic bar joke. The way I was reminded is I was sitting on my porch and my neighbor said that her daughter wanted to come over and show me something funny. And what it was a video, kind of a viral video. It's a dash cam. So you're looking out a windshield and the car seems to, I think, is sitting at a red light. And on the radio, you hear the very distinctive voice of Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he says something about science comedian Brian Mallow. And he says, this is one of my favorite jokes of his. And he says, a virus walks into a bar. The bartender says, and right about then, another car smashes into the vehicle that we're in. And there's commotion and everything, and then you miss the punchline, and Neil says something about biohumor. So it's like hilarious. And that guy will probably remember me for better or worse. So it's a very old joke. And it's not the one that Neil he usually quotes my Higgs boson joke. I haven't heard him quote this. So the joke is, a virus walks into a bar. The bartender says, we don't serve viruses in this bar. The virus replaces the bartender and says, now we do. And unlike all the others, that's not a corny pun. It's not a pun at all. But it stems from me explaining what a virus is and how it takes over the machinery when it gets into a cell, takes over the machinery. So I set it up by explaining that, and then I tell the joke. But this is such a weird piece of video. Dashcam video, Neil Tyson quoting me, and then the car is smashed from the side. Like, you don't see it coming, but there's just this big smash. And so, very bizarre. I posted it a couple places the other day. And then also, did you see that video I shared on Facebook? I'm a big fan of Tom Lehrer from probably the 50s and 60s especially. He was, and in fact, not too many years ago, he was still a math professor in Santa Cruz. But he was a Harvard guy, very smart, mathematician, professor, but he also wrote hilarious songs and was great on the piano. And my favorite album was An Evening Wasted with Tom Lehrer. It looks like An Evening with Tom Lehrer, and then there's like written in Wasted with Tom Lehrer. But the science fiction writer Joe Haldeman shared a song I'd never heard, and you go look it up. It's on YouTube. It's Tom Lehrer, and it's called I Got It From Agnes. And it's like, I got it from Agnes, she got it from Bob. The rhymes are just hilarious, and his delivery is hilarious. And it's a Tom Lehrer song I'd never heard, and it's really short, and it's about catching something. This one seems to be more sexually transmitted, but it's a hilarious song. Tom Lehrer, I got it from Agnes. So anyway, thank you everybody. Thanks for hanging in this long. I'm gonna spare my voice finally, and I'm gonna here's how we're gonna end it. I'm just gonna fade away, fade into the Adam background, and I'll see you later, and thank you. Good night.